Hi, welcome to the Budget Retirement Options channel. I'm Sandy, a retired expat, now traveling the world slowly. But I'm here to give you the inside scoop, the inside information on how slow travel works. And you can do this for $1,500. I used to say $1,500, but prices are going up. Rent is going up. Food is going up. Transportation costs is going up. So let's say $1,600 to $1,700 a month. This is the crucial part of it. Very few YouTubers talk about this in the slow travel, but I need to show you exactly what makes it work. Now I'm going to give you my example, and you of course can change things around to fit your lifestyle and your example. But if you keep in mind, if you always research your travel and plan on traveling, you hop. You don't take long airfare trips like I did from the Dominican Republic to Spain. Of course, the airfare was under $700, but you don't usually do that. Here's what you do to keep your price between $1,600, $1,700, $1,500 a month while you pay your rent, your airfare, your insurance, your food, and your entertainment. So having said that, I need to say this. Before you leave home, it may be a good idea to pay off all your debt, because you are going to need every penny if you are living on a budget and traveling. Of course, you keep your padded money, your emergency fund above and beyond and separate from your regular travel. Now, we all want to have an emergency fund. You put that in a bank account or wherever you feel that it's safe, and you leave it there. That's only for die-hard emergencies. You do not spend that because you're walking past this beautiful boutique in Panama, the country of Panama, who has great, lovely boutiques in the airport. And you see this beautiful outfit that you want. Oh, you just have to have it. Well, it's more expensive because it's at the airport. Costs $600. You got it, but you need to go into that emergency fund to pay for it. Can't do that. It's all about self-discipline. And I'm going to show you how to make it work. First of all, you're going to need to make this work like you're going to need an adapter. Do not even think about leaving the country without an international adapter. This means that you can plug in your computer, your hairdryer, or whatever you need to charge your phone in any country in the world. Do not even begin your travels without an adapter. That having been said, let's start with Mexico City, because that's where I started out. I spent the first 5.5, 6 years almost of my retirement in Puerto Vallarta, 7 miles outside of Puerto Vallarta in a small fishing town, Mismaloya. And then the rent started going up, double, then to triple. So I had to move, and I had some help. The landlord helped me out with that. She wanted me gone. No problem. We straightened it out since, and there has been some talk of me returning, but I won't be returning. Because when I was there, the rent was $400 a month. The rent is now up to $1,200 and more per month. So no, that's part of my travel the world budget. So I left and I went to Acapulco for a while, and then I left Acapulco and went to Cabo. And then I had this feeling, this yearning. I had to go back to Acapulco. And unfortunately, when I got back to Acapulco, the pandemic hit. And I ended up spending a year in Acapulco because I couldn't leave. Now, when I was able to travel, I traveled leaving from Mexico City. It's about an hour flight from Acapulco to Mexico City. From Mexico City, you can go to almost any place in the world, except Middle Eastern countries and far in Asia. You need to catch a connecting flight. But when you leave Mexico City, you can pretty much go anywhere. And what I did is I went from Mexico City to Panama City, and that's because the flight is only 4 hours. Now, I have an aversion to Panama. I'm very, very sensitive, and I love the ocean. And with the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean being so very close, it just disturbs me. I can't handle two major bodies of water being that close. So Panama is not one of my favorite places. However, when I'm going to do jumping from North America to South America, I almost always have to stop over in Panama. So what I did is I went from Mexico City, Panama, to Bogota. Now, most people go to Medellin. I'm a different kind of expat. I don't generally go where everybody else goes. One of the reasons is because the rents are so much higher when you go where the crowd goes. So I went to Bogota. Now, Bogota, you can overlook the city for $500 a month, and that is no lie and no joke. Now, from Bogota, you can take a long stretch and go into Brazil. Now, like I said, everybody else pretty much goes to Rio. Not me. I go to Sao Paulo, which is the largest city in the Americas. Sao Paulo is just ultimately huge. But Sao Paulo is not necessarily on the Atlantic Ocean. You have to travel about an hour in a cab to get to the neighborhoods that are sitting right on the Atlantic Ocean. Now, when I leave Sao Paulo, I went down to Argentina. Now, Buenos Aires is cheap, but it's not as cheap as people would say or would have you believe. Well, let's put it this way. It's not as cheap as Peru. Buenos Aires is beautiful. You want to go to Buenos Aires. You want to spend time there. I recommend that if you are a person of color, that you stay in the major city, Buenos Aires. I did not go outside the Buenos Aires city limits per se, so I can't speak for how you would be treated outside of the major city limits. And the reason why I say that is because there are many Argentinians who believe and are proud of the fact that, because they believe that arrived on the shores and died there in Argentina, that he went to Argentina after World War II. And they're proud of that fact. They're very proud of it. I was treated kindly, but they stared at me. I was oftentimes the only Black person in the entire large shopping center, or the entire hotel, or the entire grocery store. So you see, there's not a lot of people of color walking around. So you want to be aware when you go there. For everybody else, they'll be happy to see you, no problem. You will have a great time. You can go everywhere. Now, when I got to Argentina, I didn't want to go back through Sao Paulo, and I didn't want to go then directly to Bogota. So what I did is I went to Peru. But as you know, I look on my map, my Airbnb map, and I just look for all the places that I can afford with an ocean view that I would feel comfortable in renting. And it just so happened that the place that I wanted to rent in Peru is a 1 hour flight from Lima, Peru. So I landed in Lima from Argentina, and I stayed for 2 days to gather myself, to pull my energy back in after flying, and to rest. And then on the third day that morning, I left for a small fishing village further south in Peru. Now, from Peru, I could have gone to Quito. That's what I should have done, or could have done. But I have a favorite spot in the Dominican Republic. And after leaving Peru, it was just time to go to the Dominican Republic. And believe it or not, I caught a flight out of Lima, Peru for less than $500 all the way across South America and up further to the Dominican Republic. And there I stayed for several months. All of these flights cost around $400, maybe $500. That is the key to traveling the world slowly and keeping your costs down $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 a month. That is the key.